Commerce and Chill. Hey, I'm Jessica Johnson Cope.
I'm Waleed.
And this is our podcast where we discuss the intersection of all things business, small business, entrepreneurship, love, and life. What's up, homie?
Nothing much. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. You know, we've been busy. We've been real busy, ready to take on the second half of the year. Are you ready for the second half of the year? Because I know what I thought the first half of the year was going to be is not quite what I expected.
Times Square, New York City music.
It's phenomenal. The connection to all these people I'm feeling right now and the new year and all the good times past, good times to come, man. This is phenomenal.
You know, it's something like
Nuevo tipo de coronavirus. 2 million people have tested positive. Los países están tomando medidas.
What'd you expect?
I was thinking big things in 2020. I wasn't thinking pandemic. I wasn't thinking the pandemic.
Well, I don't think anybody was thinking pandemic.
Actually, a couple of people did.
They might have been. I don't know. I'm not touching that. Like, life is interesting. But, some people are doing well. Some people are doing bad.
Yeah, and one area that seems to be where people seem to be doing well is like right now, aside from catching a couple of L's from the cops, and our businesses kind of shutting down, it seems like Black people are the flavor of the month.
Blackface, 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 not blackface.
Yo, have you seen Carver Bank's stock? It's like $1 and change. It shot up to $20.
How many stock shares did you buy?
I will not disclose what I bought prior and what I sold afterwards, but I told y'all the stock market was on sale. Some people listened, some people didn't.
For people who don't
it's
know,
like $7 now.
What is significant about Carver?
It's a Black-owned bank, but like you said, Black is favorite of the month. So if you're paying attention now, people are supporting it more and more. So it's an opportunity for you to support. It's also an opportunity for you to invest. And if you're buying stock, that's a way of supporting. Because you buy their stocks, they get the money and they can use it to invest. They have access to more capital now. So hopefully with this run, Carver does something great. Maybe they can open some branches, improve maybe some of the technology to compete with some of the bigger brands so they can attract more people, keep the people they got during this whole, BLM movement. Mm-hmm. But, it's a lot going on. Urban One stock is up.
Who's Urban One?
I don't ask me to give the whole story, but she...
Kathy Hughes and her son, Alfred Liggins.
Sorry.
It started as Radio One. She had one radio station based in Washington, D.C.
Cliff Notes.
She and her son actually lived in the radio station when times were tough. And then she purchased additional stations. She built out her footprint, and she's expanded her media empire to not just include radio stations, but also television networks and an internet brand. So Urban One.
Yeah.
That's Kathy Hughes and Alfred Liggins. Shout out to our living
Stock
legends.
Opportunities.
Just as a side note, we're talking about Black folks winning. I want to say thank you to the Sine Institute of Policy and Politics at the American University for inviting me to be a part of a discussion on how corporations can lead in helping small businesses. It was a great look at what these corporations can do, because as a Black business owner, I'm not looking for a hand out. I'm looking for a hand up. And especially now, since so many corporations are saying
hand out, hand up.
I don't want to. You never heard that before?
I heard it, but to me, it sounds like it's about the same thing.
It's not. It's like somebody giving you the hand to help pull you up, as opposed to here's $1.
Okay.
Like the difference of teach a man to fish and give him a fish.
All right.
That kind of thing.
Don't get all biblical on me now.
Anyway, the point is that with all of these corporations saying that they like Black people, they support Black people, they believe in Black people, the lip service isn't enough. And any Fortune 500, Fortune 50, Fortune 5 corporation that's not quite sure how you can invest in Black people, in Black businesses, holla at your girl. I have a detailed action plan that can help you.
I need to see this action plan.
I got plans for days.
I mean, well, you are a copious note taker.
That's my name,
Every
Mrs. Copious
Yeah,
Note Taker.
She got the right last name all of a sudden. I see her writing stuff all the time. I just be like, I don't know what she's writing. But whatever it is, I hope it pays off really soon.
In time, my brother, in time.
Listen, I don't got too much more time. Look, my hair is turning gray. It's turning gray.
Midnight Cocoa Bean.
Listen, what is this?
Bad boys for life.
Midnight Cocoa Bean. You're going to have Ordonez with the little brush putting it in my beard like in the movie with
Yes.
Martin Lawrence, right?
And Will Smith.
And Will Smith,
There
right?
you go. But for real, corporations who are interested in really supporting Black-owned businesses, you can start by investing in those businesses, by investing in Black-owned money management firms, and buying advertising on Black media. There's a number of different ways. I've seen some companies have said, "Oh, we're going to post in our statement, our corporate social responsibility person is going to be a person of color." You also need to look at your hiring trends. Are you hiring people of color and Black people, and not just hiring them, but allowing them to rise to positions of influence? So one of my friends works for a government agency, and say that there are bands of different pay bands. You work in the schools and whatever.
Yeah, I was a public school teacher for.
So were there different like pay bands that people made in the schools, the teachers?
It's please don't get me started.
Okay, we're not today.
It's all about like tenure and seniority. It's like it's a cluster.
So needless to say, my friend works at a government agency, and she just started not too long ago with this agency and said that she was one of the highest ranking Black people within the agency in a very short time.
Okay.
And then
So I hope she was making more money than most of the people there.
she was.
Okay,
but she was also
So
involved.
hopefully she was getting paid her worth.
She was involved in some very high level discussions about diversity and inclusion within the agency. And then the challenge is, how do you really advance diversity and inclusion if you don't have diverse people at the table partaking in that discussion?
I'm not disagreeing. I'm not agreeing. You know my philosophy. I really don't speak to anything that I really don't know or haven't experienced. But on the topic of you saying like inclusion, diversity, or Black is the flavor of the month, and corporations or businesses are making these, posting on social, or they're saying like we're gonna put a person of color or minority on our board, or we're gonna hire more.
Put some Black people on your boards.
Listen, all I can say is
I've been on a board before, a corporate board.
yeah, but like I'm not just looking for people to just be I'm
not
on a
as
board.
Not as a token head though.
I'm just
making moves,
I'm
making
not
a
saying
difference.
that you were. I'm just saying if you're gonna be about it, do it right. And I can't speak 100%, but I know there's been some talk, and there's in the news. Netflix said they're depositing $100 million of their money in Black-owned banks. Do things that are going to have a direct impact. So when I hear Netflix puts, and this is not taking away from anything somebody else has done or what other companies are doing, but when I hear, and I don't know if they've done it, but it's in the news, that Netflix is taking $100 million cash and putting it in Black-owned banks. Now, to me, that has a direct impact on improving the economic status of those minority communities. Because I'm willing to bet, and I don't have the data, so I could be wrong, but somebody can fact check it. A Carver bank or some community bank that's Black owned, I'm willing to bet the majority of their depositors are minority. So if they deposit $100 million across 10 different Black owned banks, that bank just got a huge influx of capital that they can make home loans to people who come into their branches. They can
Car loans.
They can open up more branches. Maybe not even open more branches.
Loans.
They can improve their electronic, because some of those smaller banks, they don't have like the apps and all that where you could deposit your check. They just don't have as many features as the bigger banks, right? So now that bank just gets a huge influx of cash and says, holy smokes. And I'm willing to bet that Netflix is not going to be hitting that account on a regular basis to do payroll or do some operating. Be like, yeah, we put 75 million in one of these accounts, and we're drawing against it every week. I'm sure some of that money might sit there for a minute.
But
direct impact.
Overwhelmingly, what the Department of Treasury and the Fed want is to see those monies moving. I mean, the banks have to maintain certain levels of liquidity, but they also want to see that money moving. So that's moving in a positive direction.
It's moving because how many more loans can that bank write now?
A lot.
To minority people who want to buy homes, who want to start a business to stimulate the economy. Yeah, and let's not talk about businesses right now with this COVID.
Okay.
I just read that the mayor has talked to the governor, and they're still not going to open up inside space for restaurants, but they're really going to push hard to put more outdoor space for restaurants.
You see, they already have a significant outdoor dining presence. They've got tables in the street, but now they're going to make basically what they're calling a piazza. They're going to close Arthur Avenue and have tables from one end of the street to the other end as well.
Where are these people going to sit?
Where the urban planners? Is that even safe? I mean, like, I'm not
I'm
trying to eat my dinner in the gutter.
I see them in the street, and all I'm concerned about is two things.
What is this, Lady in a Tramp?
Yeah, where they sit on the street, eat the spaghetti off the plate. But I'm just thinking from a whole health and safety aspect of it. So now I'm sitting in the curb, not on a sidewalk.
Right.
I'm sitting there. I see places now. They have like 5, 6, 8, 9 tables in the street, and they got the flower pots around it, and it looks all beautified. And then 3 feet over is a bumper of a car or a truck. So when that truck or car starts up to pull out the spot, and I'm sitting there eating my roasted vegetables, I'm going to inhale exhaust from some car, because it ain't a Tesla. It ain't a Tesla, so it ain't like it's running off electric, right? I'm going to breathe the exhaust. So that's one thing. That's health related. Then the other piece is, some of these places are on busy streets. What happens if a car backs up by accident, or somebody misses a turn, or their judgment is off, or there's an accident, and then they crash into these people sitting at a table eating in the street?
Dinner over, done.
Like, I'm really wondering where some of the thought and planning and the process is going on with this. And it really makes me wonder a lot about what's really going on behind the scenes with the economics, small businesses, and this pandemic. It's really interesting. But to go back to your original point, yes, having a direct impact and making direct contributions during this whole movement that's going on is something for applause. Not just talking about it or putting it on your social.
Being about it, doing something, executing.
And I'm just going to talk about it for a hot second.
Execute.
For everybody out there, your feeds are looking kind of weak. Protesting is still going on. BLM is still going on. Breonna Taylor's killers have not been charged. So why is your feed back to normal?
This is not normal.
And listen, July 4th's coming up. We had this whole Blackout Tuesday and all this. I hope you use that time. I've seen a few people posting saying we need to have another blackout on July 4th. I hope you're not rocking red, white, and blue that day. Maybe, put some black in your feet.
Red, black, and green.
There you go. Right.
So red, black, and green, 4th of July.
We ain't free yet.
I also want to give another shout out to Dr. Christine Thorpe. She's doing big things at Keene University. She invited me to participate on her show, Beyond the Facade. And she was talking about what we demand in terms of health and wealth within the Black community. So it was a great discussion based on health informatics, what's happening in the health space and the data that's available to back it up. And what are we asking for? But asking is a little too nice. At this point, we need to really be assertive and go out and claim what it is that we want. So thank you, Dr. Thorpe, for having me on your show, and Dr. Centeo for giving such great insight into the data and informatics. So for today, Copey Cope, I wanted us to talk about the Black media revolution.
Okay.
The Black media revolution.
Will it be televised?
I don't know. In the age of the internet,
You better get your cameras out.
you've in the age of the internet, you can be multimedia. It doesn't have to be TV.
Somebody's going to record it.
But now is a sublime time if you are in media to control the images of Black people, Black culture, Black business, and to create the narrative that we want people to see about us.
Absolutely.
To that end, I recently watched a webinar that was hosted by CUP, which is the Council of Urban Professionals. Shout out to CUP for hosting a great conversation with media mogul Byron Allen. So I'm going to date myself. I remember Byron Allen from back in the day for the show on NBC, Real People.
These 230 girls aren't cheering just because I know Sarah Purcell personally.
He's a comedian guy.
You know, I've been waiting for a long time to get like this, like on television, like at 1 o'clock in the morning, so I could just stand here and go, "Hello, my name is Skip Stevenson. My hair is blonde and my eyes are blue, and you're on drugs." You know. Hey, hello. I guess I'd tell you a little about myself first.
People cracking up, and then we'd go and talk to.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
Yeah, okay. And we'd talk to everyday people about what was going on, but. More recently, Byron Allen has been in the news for two things that really stand out to me. Number one is, did you know that Byron Allen owned the Weather Channel?
Oh, yes. Oh, I know this. Byron Allen is gangster. Yes, this I know.
So
This I knew.
he's been building a media empire for decades, which has allowed him to buy networks and stations, including the Weather Channel, at what he said was a relative steal.
Yeah, what did he pay? Like $300 million? I can't remember what it was.
I don't know. I don't know if he even
I'm
said
making
the
that number up. Don't even. Let me
He
Google it.
was dropping a lot of wisdom bombs on that webinar. So go to the Council of Urban Professionals website and see some of the great programming that they're conducting, but take some time to listen to what Byron Allen had to say. One of the other things that stuck out to me about Byron Allen is recently he went to the Supreme Court against Comcast.
I heard him say he went to Supreme Court, but I didn't hear who it was for.
So he owns several TV stations across the United States, and from what I understand,
$300 million he paid.
$300 million, that's a steal, because we all at some point in time look at the weather, and the Weather Channel is the go-to source. Anyway, so Byron Allen took Comcast, I think it was, to the Supreme Court, and he used a very old statute about racism to say that they were trying to hold him and his business down. And first of all, I give him his props for not dropping the case and to keep it going all the way to the Supreme Court. And trust and believe it wouldn't have made it to the Supreme Court unless it had a lot of validity. So shout out to Byron for representing the people who represent themselves, who put out positive images, and who feel like the man has his neck on our throats as we're trying to grow our businesses. So watch the video and see what's going on. But we don't hear enough stories about people like Byron Allen.
You don't. And there's a lot of other Byron Allens out there. And when I say it, I don't even mean it on a dollar level, like they got to own $300 million, blah, blah, blah. There's some on Instagram or YouTube or Facebook, or they own local newspapers like in your neighborhood. And they do like these weekly newspapers like the Amsterdam or like
shout out to
Our Times Press.
NNPA, the National Newspaper Association.
Right, or
and
like the Daily Challenge.
Those are Black-owned publications that tell our stories. And they reflect a time where we weren't represented well in print media, and they still have a presence. So when you see that little kiosk with the pull-out paper and there's some brown faces, that might be your local NNPA member, and they're doing big things to try to keep our communities going. So support. So check out Byron Allen and his, as I call him, his intentional mogul hustle, because there's a lot of lessons that we can learn from him.
There you go.
What else do you think about the black media
We
revolution?
just got to tell our own story. And now is like I don't want to say now is the best time because that sounds so cliche. But with the advances in technology we have now, we should be doing it more than ever.
Mm-hmm.
Before you tell us, oh shoot, what is that place?
What place?
There's a documentary, and it so escapes me right now, and I want to say it's either North Carolina or South Carolina, where there was a thriving black community and how they used the media. They talked about this whole political system down there, and that's back when the Republicans represented blacks and Democrats didn't. Do your history, because people be like, oh, Democrats and Republicans.
Democrat for life.
Right. You really should look back at history and understand how the political system was and then how it changed. But I so can't remember. But it was this town in either North Carolina or South Carolina, and there's this documentary. I don't even remember who did it now. This is a shame. I shouldn't even brought it up. But they talked about how they used the local press to paint negative images because too many blacks from this town were getting into political seats. And there was this political party called the it begins with an F and I can't remember. But
Did you want to look it up?
it doesn't even, there's no need. But they used press to paint these negative images, and they brought up the images, and I so sent it to the whole media team. I DM'd it to everybody.
While you're looking for that, I will just say, if you don't think that representation is important, if you don't think that media ownership is important, I'll just ask you this one
I
question.
sent it to Hamlet.
Why would Jeff Bezos buy the Washington Post if media representation was not important? Marinate on that.
He brought Whole Foods. Marinate on that. First of all, what is Amazon? It's a distribution platform, right? Company platform.
Right.
They're not owning a bunch of these products that are being sold on their platform. They're distributing it, right? And then he went and brought a food company. And he brought a media company. So he's controlling. Not saying he's controlling.
No,
but
he's controlling, because even in the pandemic, he's getting richer.
I can't say he controls it because I don't know. I can't say he's sitting there telling people at the Washington Post what to put in the paper, right? But he has the influence on what goes into your mind and what you put into your body.
And what comes out of your pocket.
That is very powerful. He controls two things that you consume. And the third thing he controls is how you get the things you consume.
What you consume. Yeah.
So, how are we not... This is the one for Central Park. You should do the history on Central Park, too. Because Central Park wasn't always Central Park.
Central Park used to be an enclave where there are lots of
Seneca.
black people lived.
And they decided to displace them, and they painted in media again. They painted the pictures as if it was this rundown shanty place with shacks, and it was really bad. And they was like, we should clean them all out so we can make it a park for people to hang out in that part of Manhattan. But
we need more parks. We do, but do we need more parks where people are living?
But this was back then. You didn't need it was different back then.
Do we need parks where people are living?
There was a lot of green space back then.
While you're looking for that, I want to say a special shout out to Black Enterprise. The Black Enterprise family has always been inspirational to me and my family. I know that my dad, before he passed away, always said, I want us to be on the BE 100. And that's the Black Enterprise list of the 100 most successful black businesses.
Check.
No, we're not there yet.
So what's the award you got from them?
We got, you want to reach over and get it? The Black Enterprise Family of the Year Award.
Oh, yeah, my bad. Sorry.
Family Business of the Year.
Unchecked.
But a few months ago, Earl Graves Sr. passed away. He created a tremendous legacy because he believed in telling our stories. He talked about black people in business who were doing well. He was one of the first outlets, or his outlet was one of the first to talk about the success of Beatrice Foods and Reginald Lewis, rest his soul, who's just a giant among black business people. And you talked about the changing the changing landscape, and with media and technology being the way that it is, I want to say thank you, Butch Graves, for continuing the family legacy, for making your dad proud, for telling our stories, and for managing a wonderful team, as well as for leading the transition from print magazine to digital presence, as well as leadership conferences that empower and equip Black professionals and executives to lead our organizations and to grow our businesses. So thank you, Black Enterprise, for just being an amazing family business, and for setting a foundation to help businesses like ours to continue to grow and make an impact in the current business landscape. You still looking?
Yeah, I saw. I put it in his DM. I didn't scroll through this feed.
I'll also say, let's have a moment of silence for Johnson Publishing. If you grew up in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, you couldn't walk into a Black household and not find a copy of Ebony or Jet magazine.
Yo, Jets was always in my house when I was like,
Jet Beauty of the Month.
Week.
Oh, you're right.
Because Jet
was weekly. You're right.
It was a weekly publication. And they always had, and what was gangster, forget the whole Beauty of the Week. They always had a section, I think it was near the middle or the back, that they always had pictures of Black married couples who just got married. I thought that was like,
and people celebrating anniversaries.
And then they had older couples celebrating, like they were married 50, 60, 75 years.
Right.
Like, imagine what kind of impact that had on people's psyche that you don't see now. You're putting out positive images of people getting married and then staying married. Like,
I mean, that's commerce and chilling in print.
Yeah. So the question is now, how do we take all these? I can't find it. I'm so pissed.
That's all right. We'll have to put it in the show notes. Check it out. Team, help us.
But how do you use media, right? Mm-hmm. Because these during this documentary, they use media to get these. Yeah, I don't know who I sent it to. I mean, how I sent it to the team, but I know I sent it because Hamlet said something to me about it.
You might have sent it in stories and the story disappeared.
Nah, no, I didn't send the stories because the stories you can't, like, what? No. I either DM'd it or I probably Slacked it. And I'm not searching Slack because there's a lot in there. But they use the media to make these Black politicians and white politicians who were promoting the economic growth of their community and getting more of their party members into power. So what they did when elections started coming up, they got all the local newspapers to start running these stories and ads and different columns about how the Black man and the Black race is bad. Like, they would paint these they would draw the images of like really dark skin. They had like big hands looking like claws, and then they would have like images of the Caucasian people looking all scared and running, and then they really targeted saying how the Black male was a threat to the Caucasian woman. So then, because they ran all these ads, they were able to get they were able to win back the majority of the seats. But in the town, all the seats weren't up for election at the same time. So the mayor, who was Caucasian, but he supported the agenda, he was part of the party that supported the African American community there. They literally all just went down to City Hall or Town Hall, whatever it was, a mob of them, and was like, you need to resign. We want this. And dude was scared. So he was like, I resign. But the negative press that was put out there by all these publications was counteracted by one newspaper that was local. And the gentleman was printing the stories in his paper saying these things were not true. So we all know what happened to his newspaper. They made threats. He got scared and left town because they were threatening his life. And a mob of people showed up to his newspaper and they burnt the building down to the ground. And to this day, when they did documentary, there's this plot of land there that's like next to a church, and there's another building next to it, and it's still vacant to this day. And it tells a story, and they tell a story of what happened here, how the newspaper burned down because of that history, the racial tension, because the African Americans in that community were self-sufficient financially. So as soon as they make progress, something gets done to say, you done went too far. Now we need to reset you to zero or take it back or knock you back down. But the media played a very important role. And that was just then when people were printing newspapers and then they just hand them out or they deliver them to your door. Like this was, I don't know the exact year, but let's say early 1900s. I don't remember.
Is it the Wilmington Insurrection?
That's it. I think it's
the insurrection.
And it's a blank plot of land in this video. It is like, yes, we will put the link in. Watch it.
On fire?
Yeah, they burnt his newspaper down, and dude, he got away. He ran and got out of town. They didn't kill him, but people died.
But they killed his dreams.
It was similar to Greenwood. Is it Greenwood?
Greenwood, yes.
Yeah, it's
In
similar
Tulsa.
to Greenwood in Tulsa.
Yes.
Where is it? Espinosa is in Wilmington, North Carolina.
North Carolina.
I think that's it. And they said they have all the documents in the archives, and like they keep some of it under lock and key because they really don't want to talk about that story. I'm like, it's really sad. But I'm like, okay, so if they used the media back then, where you just printing and handing out papers, how can we use the media now? Because we have all this technology. You have photos, you have videos, you have the internet. They can only reach people where they could get the papers too, like ride a horse and deliver them, or go walk over here and deliver them. You can literally reach people all over the world. Not literally, you can reach people all over the world.
Without even leaving your desk or your bed or your sofa.
Right. So the question is, how do we build and tell the story better?
Right.
How do we do more research on our history, which is a shame because a lot of it we don't even have access to because of what happened over 400 years. But some of it we know, some of it we don't. But my point is, how do we tell it now? Pick a day and start from there and say, today we start here. Well, Byron Allen started with the Weather Channel. How does the next?
He started before the Weather Channel.
I mean,
that was like another chapter.
That was like a mega move. But how does somebody else start with the local weekly newspaper in their neighborhood? Our Times Press, and I think they do Prospect Heights, Bed-Stuy, and like another part. I see them in the community all the time, and they give them away for free. You walk in local businesses and they just stacked up, right? So how do you do more of that and get people engaged on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn, or whatever platform you want to use, right. YouTube.
Right. As we bring this episode to a close, I encourage you to look into NNPA. That's the National Newspaper Association, which has a membership of very diverse, influential, historic Black newspapers and periodicals across the country. Learn about some of those institutions, because they are institutions, and you can contact them to go into their archives and find out historical data about them. But remember, history starts now. History starts with you. So don't wait. Don't live in the past, but move it forward. I also encourage you to look into NABOB, and that's the National Association of Black-Owned Broadcasters, which includes many radio broadcasters as well as some TV. Stevie Wonder is a member of NABOB and a bunch of other influential people. But when you think that there wasn't always an internet, there wasn't always podcasting, there wasn't always vlogging and blogging, those business owners have helped to make the transition from newspaper, and they still have an important story to tell. I know that one of my business heroes growing up was Mr. Percy Sutton, and he was the chairman of Intercity Broadcasting, which had several stations here in New York. Mr. Sutton was a native of Texas. I want to say he was originally from San Antonio.
There's some pictures around here with your dad and Percy.
Yeah, there's one right there, and then to have his the program from his funeral. He was just a giant in my eyes. He was also a Tuskegee Airman. He had a phenomenal background as a public servant and elected official here in New York City. But he was able to make an impact on so many different levels, and he harnessed the power of media to help increase his impact. He at one point was one of Malcolm X's attorneys. I mean, just a goat. Just the goat.
I don't know what to say.
So look into NABOB, look into NNPA, research giants like Percy Sutton. And I'm not trying to throw shade on some of the more popular Black-ish or at one point Black-owned media outlets like your BET or like your Essence Communications, because they have a very important role in the images that we see and how we're portrayed, and they also have very interesting business stories. So you can like him, you can dislike him, but Bob Johnson He's a very astute businessman that made power moves. Take cues from his success. You might be mad, like, he sold out to Viacom. Yeah, okay, like you wouldn't. Like, come on. Get your money. What's the purpose of being in business? You build up an empire, you hustle, you do what you got to do, and then you get your money. So.
Well, you can get your money a couple ways, but the Wilmington Massacre of 1898. Espinosa found it. He just texted to me. And the name of the political party was the Fusionist. So we'll put the link in there.
Gangster.
Like, I don't want to go back to that.
That sounds gangster.
Just look it up. These dudes were kind of gangster from what I read so far. But I mean, like, listen, you're saying Bob Johnson. I get it.
And now Bob Johnson is promoting reparations. So it's not like he took his money, he went and hid, and he's living in some island. He's still trying to help us in spite of us.
Reparations, yeah.
I'm just saying.
Like 400 years plus. And it's not, people like you mentioned, people say, oh, you sold out, you built a business. What is selling out? And that's a whole nother episode. But like, really, what is selling out? If you build something from nothing and you hustle and you grind, you have sleepless nights, you have hungry days, you have bags under your eyes for days, you are stressed, and you get something to a point where you've built tremendous value, and someone says to you, I want to pay you this dollar amount for what it's worth and then some. Would you not possibly see that as an opportunity to say, I've reached this level, I'm going to take the proceeds from what I built here and then go on and do the next thing? So people will say some people are sellouts, and maybe in their point of view or their perspective, maybe, but maybe not. But you cannot judge and make that call if you really don't know.
When's the last time you heard Warren Buffett call somebody a sellout?
I don't know.
Bill Gates.
I don't know.
Jeff Bezos.
I don't know, because they're too busy buying people out.
The booze usually come from the cheap seats.
I know, but I'm just saying it's always easy to make that perspective from the outside. Like, if you haven't built something and put in the work, and then you get to a certain point and somebody says, hey, I see tremendous value in that, I'm willing to give you X for it. And you're like, you know what? Give me X plus 3 and It's yours. You just don't know. You don't know what's going on in that person's life at that time. You don't even know what their goal was when they started the business. Maybe they just stumbled into it and just happened. They're like, okay, now is my time. I want to go sit on the beach and spend 18 months with my family, and then I'll get back into the game. Or maybe I'm done. Like, I'm good. I did my part. Like, you just don't know. So it's so easy to say you're a sellout, or you're this, or you're that. But you don't know until you do it yourself, right? I read somewhere. I better not say this. No, man.
I'll say this. We've gone way over the time that we've been allotted today, but I thank you for your patience and for your interest, because this is a very impactful and powerful topic, the Black media revolution. If I had to summarize in a few points, use the media to your advantage. You may not own the Weather Channel. You may not own a BET Networks or Essence Communication, but if you have one of these,
you own your channel.
You own
IG,
your channel.
YouTube.
Wait, let's not get it twisted, because there are some intellectual property things that you don't necessarily own when you put stuff on things like IG, Facebook, LinkedIn, and the like. But
you own it, but you
can control.
They have access to it.
Control to a large extent what images you put into the universe, out into the world.
Well, put it on your own website, then you own it.
There you go.
And just drive people to it from using these other platforms. But at the end of the day, do something and tell the story.
And if you're a business person, work with your local press, particularly your local press of color, because they're going to work with you to promote and portray positive images. And then lastly, as you get more financially self-sufficient, leverage the overall power of media, like some of the giants we've discussed today, so that you can just knock it out the park and continue to commerce and chill.
There you go.
So on that note, I'm Jessica Johnson Cope.
I'm Waleed.
Thank you for your time. Come back, tell a friend, subscribe, rate us, leave us some comments, hit us up, and let us know what you'd like.
Subscribers now. Click the bell.
Let us know what you'd like us to
celebration.
discuss, and we'll have some offline conversations and mash it up so that we can move forward, because this is our time to win. Hit the bell. And with that, we're out. Peace.